Madam Clerk, how are we down there? Good. We're good. All right. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I will go ahead and call the regular scheduled meeting for June to order. And with that, I will turn it over to Councilman Mack for the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for coming out tonight, and we thank you for our great town that we live in. And we just ask that you continue to look over our town and look over our mayor and our police chief and our fire chief and all public responders. We ask that you continue to bless each and every person in the room tonight, and that your will be done. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Jessie, please come up. Ladies and gentlemen, you may not be aware, but I was relieved of my duties today by Miss Jessie, who many of you probably know from Somerville Dream, but she was the winning bidder in a fundraising effort that Leadership Dorchester put on to support the ARC, if you're familiar with Alzheimer's respite care being done right here in our community. Jessie was the high bidder, and she served as mayor for the day. She did a lot of duties, but Jessie really does more in this community than I think anyone sees. Her work with Somerville Dream, running all the festivals, the farmers market, it really adds to the vibrancy and excellence of our town. So with that, now that I have to run the meeting, she said she would not run this meeting for some reason. I'm not sure why, but thank you so much for being mayor for the day. It was an honor working with you.
Yeah.
And you can stay as long as you want. Okay.
I'm a game player.
Yes.
We could have Kim Zwinga up to the front.
Thank you.
And Kim is our mayor's employee spotlight of the month, and I have a few things to read. Kim is the backbone of Fleet Services. She makes sure that our fuel supply stays stocked. She stays on top of making sure that all the billing and paperwork involved with the town's fleet is handled. Her previous parts experience is a major asset in locating hard-to-find parts that are needed to keep our fleet moving. She always has a positive attitude and is very pleasant as a coworker. In my absence, she makes sure the shop is ran as it should be and keeps it on an even keel. I could not ask for a better assistant. Congratulations.
I believe you are the first employee spotlight coming out of this department, and I was so thankful, Mr. Ronnie, that you nominated her. Thank you. We have excellence in every department in different levels, and she is a reflection of someone who goes above and beyond to deliver, finding those parts that are hard to find, but keep us moving our fleets efficiently and effectively. You're helping us be good stewards of taxpayers' dollars, and we appreciate you. So I have one more mayor's for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Keep up the great work.
Next, if I could have the members of Bike Walk Somerville to the front. Whereas Bike Walk Somerville has been a dedicated advocate for pedestrian and bicyclist safety, tirelessly working to improve infrastructure, raise awareness, and promote safe practices for all road users in our town. And whereas Bike Walk Somerville hosted their annual Ride of Silence in May of 2026, Moving together as one, they rode through the heart of downtown Somerville in profound stillness to honor the cyclists who have been injured or lost on our roads. And whereas another one of Bike Walk Somerville's programs, the Somerville Slow Roll, an all ages, all abilities bike ride to various Somerville locations, hosted over 71 riders since the Ride of Silence at the end of May. And whereas Bike Walk Somerville's new initiative, the Light Up the Way program, provided 56 bicycle and pedestrian lights for community members who ride or walk the streets as their primary mode of transportation, but who cannot afford lights for safety. Now therefore, Mayor Touchberry and the council members of the town of Somerville do hereby proclaim June 2026 as Bike Walk Somerville Month.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, how many of you have a friend, or maybe you yourself have been a bicyclist or pedestrian that was put in a compromised situation with a vehicle? Okay, we know how dangerous vehicles are. I know there's a whole section of our community here coming to speak on the safety of West Richardson as well. But thank you for what you do. And Chris McClure not only serves as a part of Bike Walk Somerville, but he also serves on the town's Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee. So he goes above and beyond serving our town. And thank you for advocating for the safety of all of our community members. Appreciate the work. Thank you.
Next, we have approval of minutes from previous meetings.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve A, B, and C.
All right, motion and a second to approve items A, B, and C. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Next is public comment for items on the June 11th agenda. Randy Sharpie.
Good evening. Just want to reiterate something that I said at the last meeting. The restoration and preservation of this historically significant house at 103 South Magnolia would make it an asset to the neighborhood. The owners have done a great job with the interior of the house, but they did much of the work themselves, and fortunately they're moving and the outside needs a lot of attention. And so the restored building would be a great asset to the community. It wouldn't impact the ambience of the neighborhood because there's nobody there after 5 o'clock. There's nobody there on the weekends. They're an ideal neighbor, honestly. It will increase the revenue for the town because it will go from a 4% tax evaluation to a 6%. And also the staff and clients for the business will add a lot of support to the businesses downtown, the restaurants and shops and so forth. I will add tonight that the adaptive reuse of Somerville's historic buildings has played a major role in their preservation. The old town hall, for example, was a residence until about 1989, I think, when it was bought by the Preservation Society and became a meeting space and semi-museum. And also some people are concerned that this would somehow hurt the value of property there. I just want to bring to everybody's attention that there have been 8 apartments on in the second block of South Magnolia for about 40 years. And yet, in the next block, in the 300 block, a house was just sold a few months ago for 1.45 million. So it's not affecting the property value. And lastly, I would like to say that it's not causing the whole neighborhood to go commercial, because that apartment complex has been there, as I said, for 40 years, and yet nothing on that street, to my knowledge, has changed from residential to commercial. So thank you for your time.
Tom Stanford.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. My name is Tom Stanford, obviously, and I live at 404 South Magnolia with my wife Shannon Sutton. I was going to speak on the rezoning of 103 South Magnolia and the impact it would have, the precedent being set, but I feel a larger threat to the neighborhood is presented by the proposed overlay district discussed at the most recent planning meeting. The issues are very similar. When we purchased our home, it was with the understanding that the residential nature of the neighborhood was protected by the historic district guidelines. Those guidelines were further reinforced by the UDO and the 10-year plan. Such documents exist to provide assurance that the nature of neighborhoods covered will be protected, that their continuance can be relied on, that decisions can be made based on those documents. That was a big selling point for us. And as the neighborhood is special with this, sorry, I mangled that sentence. It's special with this gracious spacing of houses, its quiet side street. It encourages a sense of community, of belonging. I'm sure I'm not alone in starting to feel that those documents aren't worth much, as this proposal bodes to be the fourth time in less than a year that those protections have been challenged. I understand the status quo will need to be tested on occasion to check that it's still what is desired by the residents. I get that. Democracy is messy. Progress is messy. However, the resistance to the rezoning requests has been near universal by the affected citizenry. What I do not understand is how much more clearly the resident citizenry needs to speak for it to be heard. This is not the path we choose for our neighborhood. The proposal as currently written would encourage those with houses suitable for businesses to sell it as soon as possible, before the overall property values decline. Why would they decline? Businesses are not neighbors. To have a neighborhood, one needs neighbors. To quote our council member, Ms. Johnson, from a few months ago while discussing the rezoning of 115 South Magnolia, quote, "I want to make sure my house never goes through commercial zoning, but I'd much rather have a B&B around me than law offices," which is the effect of what this overlay would do. So thank you for that, Tiffany. I don't have time here to go into the multiple issues I have with the proposal as it exists, but I have sent an email to the council and the mayor outlining my concerns. I am absolutely certain I am not alone in my view. This request is proof of what the residents have been asserting about even considering spot zoning, even though it will be moot if the proposed commercial overlay goes into effect. Please deny the petition to rezone 103 South Magnolia and begin to bring an end to this trend. Thank you.
Debbie Tomczyk.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I am here tonight to ask you to preserve the residential character of our historic district by voting against the rezoning of 103 South Magnolia. We have heard that this proposed business would be a low-impact use. However, even low-impact businesses do not contribute to a neighborhood in the same way that residents do. Homes provide neighbors, families, and activity after business hours. Offices create buildings that are largely empty at night and on weekends. And it was also said that there are law offices across the street. Across the street is actually next door neighbor zoning, so it's not residential. This isn't simply one decision about a property. It's a decision about whether historic residential block should remain residential or begin a gradual transition to commercial use. You voted in April to deny the same rezoning request at 115 South Magnolia in the same block. Some council members have suggested that commercial zoning would bring money or improvements to this area. I respectfully disagree. The owners of 103 South Magnolia have invested years of work restoring and improving their historic home, and it shows. Another home on the block may need updates. These homes remain valuable, though. That they're desirable properties, and future homeowners will continue to invest in them as generations of residents have done before, and as we did. I'm also concerned that creating an exception for this block, whether through rezoning or future overlay district, would single out a residential area for commercial encroachment while the rest of the historic district remains protected. The historic district is special because it is a neighborhood. We ask that you keep it that way. Please vote no on the rezoning of 103 South Magnolia Street. Thank you.
Shannon Sutton.
Good evening. I live at 404 South Magnolia. We moved here now 4 years ago from Buffalo, New York. My husband had been transferred there for his work, and I knew nothing about that town. I'm from Texas. That's very far away. While there, I became president of a small nonprofit that worked to revitalize blighted neighborhoods in and around the downtown core of Buffalo. When you have dozens of empty, beautiful historical houses, churches, and businesses, one of your best tools is adaptive reuse, such as being suggested for 103 South Magnolia. It's also being used as a justification for the proposal of a downtown commercial overlay. You need to take advantage of any use that will be a reasonable fit to save a city that lost 46% of its population in 35 years. Another justification I've heard is that businesses are better able to maintain these houses. Our second most used tool was helping local businesses apply for special grants and small loans to help maintain the historic spaces that they'd moved into. We found that businesses were no better or worse than private ownership at being able to handle the significant fiscal responsibility historic buildings and homes can be. Buffalo is now in a renaissance, and one of its main tourist draws, besides the Buffalo Bills, is its beautifully restored historical buildings and houses. But we don't have that issue here in Somerville. Perhaps you used to in the 80s and 90s. I don't know, I'm new. But we have families eagerly buying houses, investing tens and in many cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars in maintaining, upgrading, restoring our houses. And we are one of them. But we are beginning to question if we are being wise. For me, this is not about pro-business versus anti-business. This isn't even now about the historic district. For me, it's about losing my neighbors. Businesses can be wonderfully engaged citizens within a community. They bring places to work, to play together, to enjoy, and tax dollars that improve our town. But they are not neighbors. People will not be in these locations after closing. Neighbors do live in apartments, but they are there to tell you that they see firefighters are in your backyard and know you're not home and call you. They don't, while walking their dog, take a photo of your porch and send it to you to tell you how pretty your flowers are. They don't stop and come up on your porch when they see you and stay for a chat. And they certainly don't take care of your cat while you're on vacation. 103 South Magnolia hasn't even been on the market since March 2011. I just can't help but wonder what a growing family might do if they were to get a chance to be stewards of that house for the next generation. Please vote no on 103 Magnolia rezoning. Thank you.
Laura Crosby.
Good evening. I, Laura Crosby, am opposed to the rezoning of 103 South Magnolia from GR2 to NMX. It has been suggested by council that properties in our neighborhood should be rezoned because they need a facelift. The idea that Somerville in general needs resurrecting like some derelict towns by opening more B&Bs, an idea pitched by the National Park Service, is crazy. People traveling on East Richardson beyond the four-way stop at South Magnolia can't help but notice Mr. Knight's home on the right. He transformed Willette Fay's mansion into a showplace. Neighbors down the street just spent a fortune on BAR-approved exterior improvements. Our house was repainted last year. The house to our left just sold for a little short of $1 million. Unless a structure is so unsightly, it is a codes violation. It is not the business of the government to see to it that a house is repainted. As with 115, rezoning 103 South Magnolia to NMX violates the town's comprehensive plan, zoning and land use policies, and future land use map. Attorney Andy Gowder made that abundantly clear in a letter he sent to the town's attorney on April 9th. During a May 11th standing committee meeting, a comment was made that residents in GR2 zoned areas are already okay with businesses operating in their neighborhoods. However, the provisions of the permits that allow limited business to operate with conditions were not made clear during the meeting. Conditional use permits for businesses in GR2 zoned areas require that the owner and operator of the business live at the business location. There can be one employee, the owner. There are no businesses in GR2 that are operated by off-site owners. Council seems intent on changing that. Residents of the East Side Historic District are the only residents of the town of Somerville who have to attend nearly every planning commission meeting, council, and standing committee meetings to advocate for their rights. From our perspective, this council has only tried to harm our neighborhood. Other citizens in our town do not have to continually fight City Hall and plead for mercy. Why must we? It seems this is our punishment for creating a very attractive neighborhood close to Town Hall. All we want is the continued preservation of our history.
Thank you, Ms. Crosby.
Thank
Birdie
you.
Crosby.
Good evening and thank you for letting me speak. 2 months ago, council voted down the rezoning from GR2 to NMX for 115 South Magnolia. At a recent planning commission, a request for NMX zoning for 103 Magnolia was unanimously denied. While the precedent had seemingly been set by rejecting 115's request, the rezoning of 103 South Magnolia passed the first reading. I'm against this rezoning. From information I obtained from the Austin and Gowder legal firm, I learned that the South Carolina law mandates that zoning regulations be made in accordance with the comprehensive plan for the jurisdiction. This is the binding legal requirement, not a planning aspiration. Our comprehensive plan governs decisions about future land use, and that zoning implements that vision, the plan's vision. Where a zoning decision conflicts with the adopted future land use map, it lacks the statutory foundation required by South Carolina Code 6-20-720. The future land use map does not designate 103 South Magnolia or any of the surrounding residential parcels for uses in NMX. Where, I wonder, does our town attorney see a clear path for you to follow this diversion from the comprehensive plan? And does that matter? Sometimes it seems that state law doesn't hold much water in our town. Does our planning department support the rezoning? In spite of these conflicts, I expect ultimate approval tonight. I say this because time and again, council has entertained ways of bringing commercialization into our neighborhood, irrespective of how many speak against it. In the last 18 months, we have seen a proposal to revise the UDO to allow bed and breakfast to have up to 10 rooms with non-resident managers, obtain forwarded emails between council members, meeting with the mayor and administrators to develop a plan for the owners of South Magnolia to move forward in a serious discussion of allowing 115 South Magnolia to be rezoned NMX. Now we have our mayor presenting a proposal to create an overlay district for our neighborhood that allows for lodging and services. We residents can look forward to several more months of standing up here arguing to keep the status quo of our neighborhood to be residential. We have no representative looking out for us on council. In addition to the rezoning, we also have a proposal for the open container drinking district that extends right down to the corner of our neighborhood. I can see a lot of problems with this, especially during the many festivals and events where people park up and down these streets. We have plenty of noise and fair bit of litter along the sidewalks already. I think this will add more of both. I don't think this district is a good idea, but if council insists, please limit it to Main Street as the eastern boundary. Thank you very much.
Peter Gorman.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Last month, 10 residents from the east side of the historic district arrived a half an hour before your meeting to speak in the opposition to rezoning requests for 103 South Magnolia. We were denied entry to the council chambers because of the overflow crowd. Without the benefit of our testimony, you approved this rezoning request on first reading. It is now back for second and final reading. We ask that you deny this rezoning request for the same reasons you denied rezoning requests at 115 South Magnolia and the same block face. It contradicts our comprehensive plan, as previous speakers have said, and our recent 5-year update as well. We now hear that this rezoning request is linked to plans to create a mixed-use residential and commercial overlay district that is not only for this block, but for 4 other nearby GR2 residential blocks. We do not need this invasion of short-term rental or legal commercial interests in our residential neighborhood. There are approximately 15 to 20 short-term rentals within 1/4 mile of downtown. The downtown core features the highest density of rentals in this neighborhood and in the central district. 10 more short-term rentals are also planned for Bonaire Park. Average occupancy rates are 50% in these downtown STRs, and so there is an excess of capacity. We don't need more. Town businesses are thriving, and the east side has seen a renaissance in renovation and repair. Tens of millions of dollars have been spent in the past decade on improving these houses on the east side. Homeowners have invested these sums with our expectation that the residential areas of the historic district will remain intact. You are now proposing overlay district that will severely set back this momentum as well as our property values. The suggestion that commercial investments will restore our historic homes is questionable. The owners of the B&B at 115 South Magnolia so dramatically modified the interior that it is no longer saleable as a residence. This council has been repeatedly dismissive of our concerns over the commercialization of our historic district residential neighborhood. We are never consulted in advance on these plans until they are up for adoption. You hold workshops on these issues without public participation. We do not feel we have any representation on this council, as we did with previous councils. It has advanced one damaging proposal after another for the last 2 years. It has introduced special interest legislation to benefit one B&B property at the expense of all other neighbors in that neighborhood. We believe you are doing the same for 103 South Magnolia, so a law firm can move in and occupy that property. If you are intent on moving this proposal forward, please hold a workshop
Thank
for
you, Mr.
affected
Gordon.
residents who are able to
Thank you, Mr.
participate.
Gorman.
Thank you.
Karen Healy.
Hello. Thank you, council members. Before I start, I wanted to have a shout out for the press, the Post and Courier, and the Journal Scene for doing an excellent job of covering some really timely issues that we're dealing with. So many things to talk about tonight. I'm going to zero in on
rezoning because that seems to be very important on South Magnolia. So I urge you not to approve the request to rezone 103 South Magnolia from residential to neighborhood mixed use. This request does not follow the comprehensive plan, Somerville, Our Town, Our Future, and it goes against the precedent already set in place by other requests on the same street. This is a loop and we're doing it again and again. The Planning Commission did not recommend any of the previous requests, yet here we are at a second reading for commercial creep. This is a unique form of gentrification. Previously, commercial money was mentioned as attractive to renovate older structures suffering from deferred maintenance. I'm not sure if commercial renovation is considered superior to the renovations that many of us have done in the same neighborhood. Our historic home was gutted completely, down to dirt, and carefully renovated as our retirement home. I'm not sure if a business would be renovated to the same fidelity. And I'm sure there are commercial properties also experiencing deferred maintenance. The law firm seeking to purchase this property and convert it from a residence into an office has apparently outgrown their space, which was also formerly a home around 6 or 7 years ago. Congratulations on their rapid growth. There are zoned areas that are more appropriate for an office and a thriving residential block. And the site the law firm currently occupies seems better suited for expansion. It sits on 0.6 acres versus a third of an acre, and it is already zoned neighborhood mixed use. I ask you to follow the comprehensive plan, maintain the precedents, and don't allow commercial ventures to creep into residential areas. South Magnolia is a tipping point, and more will follow. Lastly, I want to share from a recent Post and Courier article, quote, "Our residents are the heart of Charleston," Mayor Cogswell said in a statement. "Their experience, perspectives, and ideas are essential as we shape a tourism strategy." I think we can insert business strategy there that supports our economy while preserving the character and livability of our city. In the 2 years of back and forth with these commercial rezoning requests, which started in the fall of 2024, those words have never been uttered. Thank you.
Jim Healy.
Good evening. Couple of points to make tonight. First, 103 South Magnolia. This request for rezoning is no different than 115 South Magnolia. You've already set the precedent by declining 115 South Magnolia. I believe it was Mr. Bob Jackson who said, we have to be consistent when we make these decisions. There's a future. What is the line for transitional rezoning in this area? The UDO knows what it is. It's the north side of South Magnolia. If 103 South Magnolia is allowed to be rezoned, where does it stop? Why, I believe the Sharpies will do a fine job putting an office in that house. That's really not the question. That is a low impact to our area, sure. But rezoning opens the door to future high impact commercial business. There's no thought about the future in this rezoning. Yes, the Sharpies have done a fine job. They've grown their business. What happens in 6, 7 years from now when their business grows again and they decide to sell? I know it's not their intent to flip, but good for them if they have to expand. What happens then? It's zone neighborhood mixed use. Commercial entities can move into our neighborhood. That's not what we want. While trying to help the town's business partners, we need to think about the town's residents and help us maintain our neighborhood. Second point, entertainment district. The proposed district is ill-conceived and fraught with many issues. There are areas within the district with no sidewalks. There's areas in this district that go in front of residential areas, that go in front of churches. There are dead-end routes to the district, going down Doty, East Richardson, West
Second Street South. You're trying to touch every business. Will be too much to monitor and supervise. And most of these businesses close between 5 and 6 o'clock at night, but yet our district will go from 10 in the morning to 10 at night for open containers. You need to look at it again. But this time, keep it simple. As stated earlier, keep it a centralized area. The area where the new amphitheater is going to go on Short Central, to Cedar, to Doty, Hutchinson Square, back down West Richardson. That's much easier to contain, monitor, and supervise. I doubt the city has the staff to supervise the proposed district. And if you don't supervise it, the new unofficial district will be connected by the patrons that
Thank you,
use this
Mr.
district.
Healy.
Dan Riley.
Good evening. Thanks so much for the opportunity to speak. Wanted to speak about item 9D on the agenda tonight, the accommodations tax. As a part of a nonprofit here in Somerville Community Music Collective, I just want to express our extreme gratitude to the council for supporting us in previous years and supporting all the other nonprofits. As we move from year to year, funds grow and shrink, and so sometimes it's hard to decide how to split those up. And at the accommodations tax committee meeting earlier this week, they were really struggling to do that. The committee was. I think that the decision that they came up with and the recommendation is fair and reasonable. As small nonprofits, we really rely on the funds that we get from accommodations tax to really help get the word out about the services that we offer and the events that we hold. So I'd just like to request that the council pass the accommodations tax as proposed.
Rick Martier.
Good try. I'm here to talk on topic 9G, which is the town considering taking over West Richardson. My wife Kim and I reside on South Walnut Street across from Hugie Park, and I fully support any initiative to slow traffic speeds, reduce noise, and remove large truck traffic on West Richardson Avenue. West Richardson Avenue is a residential area in Somerville, but the speed limit is 35 miles an hour. There's no other residential area in Somerville with that high of a speed limit. Also, there's no speed limit nor through trucks prohibited signs traveling into town from the Maple Parsons intersection until you get to the 30-mile-an-hour zone here. There's been 39 accidents in the last 10 months on West Richardson Avenue, and every intersection from Laurel Street to West Carolina Avenue has property damage from automobile accidents. Future traffic increases from the consideration of Parsons development and the old Interfor property just exacerbate these hazards. Additionally, at the same time, pedestrian traffic on and crossing West Richardson has increased due to population growth, sidewalk, and Hugie Park improvements. Thank you for those. Yet crosswalks are ignored by drivers, and crosswalks are poorly or not marked at all. These hazards exist on the west end of Somerville, but this is a whole of Somerville issue. We have a lot of visitors in our town. That's one of our front doors to this community. And each of you have folks that travel that corridor. Ladies and gentlemen, simply stated, the status quo is unacceptable and is because it's a public safety hazard that portends to more noise, auto accidents, property damage, and God forbid, injuries or fatalities. I respectfully request the mayor and town council to immediately request Somerville Police Department increase enforcement along Richardson Avenue. Enforce the speed limits, enforce the noise and large vehicle ordinances. Second, that the town of Somerville assume control of West Richardson Avenue from Main Street to Maple and Parsons intersection. Doing so will give the town the authority it needs to take actions to remedy these current hazards. SCDOT has made it clear, crystal clear, in fact, that they will take no action to mitigate our public safety hazards. I thank Councilwoman Johnson for her repeated efforts with SCDOT. Town Council is proposing to trade some roads with SCDOT for a public safety building, yet this West Richardson Avenue is a public safety hazard. I'm running out of time. Thank you.
Mr. Martir.
Mary Comer,
Good evening. My name is Mary Comer. Thank you for the chance to speak this evening as a resident of the West End neighborhood. My husband Dave and I have lived in our home on West Richardson Avenue since 2002. Over the past 2 decades, and especially since the Maple Street extension, we have watched as the traffic has steadily increased and become more dangerous. I cannot count the number of times driving home that I have whispered a little prayer as I slow down with my turn signal on to turn into our driveway, seeing in my rearview mirror a car speeding towards me, a driver who doesn't seem to realize or care that I'm going to have to wait to gauge traffic coming from around the S curve before turning left into our driveway. I have been cussed at, horn blasted at, passed so many times just for having the audacity to turn into our driveway. When our daughters were growing up and taking driving lessons, the most scared I ever was for them was when they were leaving the house and coming home. Sometimes when I'm waiting in our driveway to leave, a semi-truck will be coming around the S curve, hugging the shoulder, and I have physically backed up my car to avoid being clipped. I cannot remember or count the number of wrecks we have heard and or witnessed in front of our house in the S curve at the intersection of Richardson and Carolina. Dave, my husband, often goes out to try to help, and we have called 911 so many times they probably have our numbers flagged in their system. Although we were so grateful to have the no through truck designation applied to West Richardson several years ago, there is heavy truck traffic all day long. Our entire house shakes sometimes when large trucks hit potholes, and for our 103-year-old house, that takes a toll. Our neighborhood is united in asking for the town to take over West Richardson to help with any traffic calming measures to improve the safety and livability of this beautiful historic home-lined corridor. I personally would respectfully ask that consideration be given to reduce the speed limit to 25 miles per hour to match other residential streets in town, for more strategically placed speed limit and no through truck signage for traffic entering into town from Maple Street, and for regular enforcement. Thank you so much for listening to our comments and for taking this issue into consideration.
Natalie Martin,
Good evening, Mayor Touchberry and council members and all attendees. My name is Natalie Martin. I have lived in the historic district for 23 years. Several years ago, I was on the town's bicyclist pedestrian committee. Some of the challenges we discussed then, we are addressing once again tonight. The difference now is the rapid growth in the town's population with far more vehicles. West Richardson Avenue has now become a racetrack for some drivers. Stop signs are often ignored, and pedestrians and crosswalks are greatly threatened by drivers failing to stop as the law requires. Despite signs, many drivers do not stop or even yield for people in the crosswalks. As a walker, I observe this daily and personally feel intimidated crossing the street in them. A plan should be developed to ensure safety is part of our town's ethos. There must be consequences for those drivers who do not follow the law and disregard the rules of the road. This plan means more police officers to arrest speeders on a frequent basis and to ticket the offenders. Law enforcement to enhance public safety of all residents is a prudent and rational necessity. Another recommendation for Somerville to consider is to have the town, if it is possible, acquire West Richardson Avenue from the South Carolina Department of Transportation. Then the town can expedite solutions for safety. Let's keep Somerville safe. Thank you for your time this evening.
Carl Lundquist.
Mr. Mayor, council members, I live at 612 West Richardson, immediately across from UG Playground. We've had the house for 38 years. We've seen the town change. Our West End neighborhood group, who years ago got 165 changed to 78 all the way to Berlin G. Myers. That helped with the trucks, at least for a while. We've seen many things, but the biggest thing is the change with North Maple Street, and not only speeding pedestrians or speeding vehicles, but new ones that didn't used to come that way. We worked with Ms. Johnson. We have several things we're trying to advocate. You've heard some of them. You'll hear more. I just want to leave an anecdote. After the last accident, the speed meter was put on West Richardson. It comes out once or twice a year. It's usually down by Miss Johnson's house where you come off of Cedar and see it, but nothing much happens after that. This time it was right at UG Playground. We did an unofficial tally, and I was astonished that the average speed going through there was between 30 and 33. Like, it kind of worked. And then after that stopped, there was a rash of enforcement. And we had a number of speeders stopped and a number of trucks stopped over a 2-day period. So we are advocating for many things for this area, some of which we think are fairly reasonable, can be done, some of which are going to take time to do. But I would ask for enforcement. And the town can't afford to have police presence there all the time. But just that one time, we saw, I think, a measurable difference. If the town could do even irregular enforcement, as opposed to almost no enforcement, maybe a couple of hours a week, maybe a half day once a month, I think people will start getting the message. And so among the things we ask for, regular or as close to regular enforcement as possible is chief among them. Thank you very much.
Kim Martier.
Hello, Mayor and council members. I'm here to request your endorsement for the town of Somerville to take over the management of West Richardson Street. With that in mind, I would like to ask for the following 4 items to be instituted. Reduce the speed limit to 25. Place on-demand lighted crosswalks at West Richardson and South Walnut, as well as West Richardson and South Hickory. Change to 4-way stop at South Hickory. Place strategically positioned signage stating no oversized trucks on West Richardson. The speed limit is currently 35. However, cars, oversized trucks, and motorcycles drive at high speeds with no threat of consequences. This is not only the cause of accidents, but also road noise and in some cases, shaking of our windows and floors. The on-demand lighted crosswalks are a must at South Hickory and South Walnut. I have personally experienced life-threatening situations at both crosswalks. Cars do not stop. The last time I waited to cross South Walnut and West Richardson, I counted 12 cars go by without stopping. Placing 4-way stop signs, as previously mentioned, will keep cars from accelerating to higher speeds and will ensure the safety of both drivers and pedestrians. Since the completed road construction at West Richardson and South Maple Street, our west end of historical district has been downright disrespected. Every day, 18-wheelers and oversized trucks are using our neighborhood as a thoroughfare on Main Street. This is also the cause of road damage and property damage. South Oak Street to South Pine Street is not a thoroughfare. It's our neighborhood, and it should be preserved and protected. If we continue to ignore our concerns, it will become a dying, damaged area. People are drawn to the historical district in Somerville for a taste of the past, Southern hospitality, and a place where you can stroll the sidewalks and admire the landscapes of the historic homes. The state does not care about our little section of Somerville. It's the city council members and the residents here who care and should take action. Our historical district adds value to the community. Local charities often reach out to us for local fundraising efforts featuring our kitchens, historical homes, and beautiful historical gardens. We support their causes, many times at great expense to make things beautiful for their events. There is an allure here, and we need to keep it from growing into a dangerous pothole-infested cut-through. Driving 25, stopping for every few blocks, and no oversized trucks will keep our area what it should be, suitable and safe for both retirees and young families with children. I pray that as city council members, you will have empathy for us and have a vision of the consequences of not taking action now. Please take control of West Richardson, make these improvements, and keep our West End neighborhood safe and special like it was meant to be. Thank you for your time.
Pam Shelburne.
Mayor Tewksbury, Town Council, thanks for listening to the pleas of the West End neighborhood group tonight. Those of us who live along Richardson Avenue and the little arteries on the side, my family's lived in the same house since 1997. We raised 6 kids between South Oak Street and South Palmetto Street. We've walked them back and forth from our home to their grandparents' home there many times a day. We've watched West Richardson go from a normal small town street really to a thoroughfare. A walk 2 blocks now to the grandparents' house is very dangerous. And like Mary Comer said, we pretty much just pray over each trip down the road and tell them to hold on. Even though they're quite old now, please still remember, hold on to the fence as you go along, because anywhere else you'll see tracks where cars are always running off. There's an increase of residents here, and that's good, but our sad normal is now so many cars that you absolutely cannot pull out of South Oak Street onto West Richardson. You cannot see around the S-curve to get onto Richardson without really taking your life into your hands. The same goes for entering West Richardson from South Palmetto. If you are sitting at Linwood Inn, turning onto West Richardson, you cannot see around the curve to get onto the road safely. Even at 35, that's too fast for those conditions due to the curves in the road. We are really advocating for the town to take ownership of this road because DOT has failed to be responsible. As I said, we've lived there for almost 30 years and potholes have gone unfilled. The side of the road it's been neglected. The signage is extremely poor. And I would argue that it's been dangerous and caused accidents until recently when the sheriff intervened. There were signs literally blocking the view of drivers who were entering and exiting West Richardson from Carolina. DOT has been contacted many times. They just refuse to listen to us. They refuse to fix holes, address speeding. And as all of us have said, some of Somerville's most beautiful homes are on this road, and they're one of the main draws for tourists. They arguably contribute to revenue. But DOT just refuses to maintain it. I would just strongly like to urge you to consider taking over this road. And thank you for your time.
Tim Pye.
Good evening, Town Council. My name is Tim Pye. I live at 609 West Richardson. And somehow I sort of became the voice of the folks of West End Neighborhood Group that could not be here tonight. And in that forum, we put together a petition to urge the town to advocate for the town to take over ownership and maintenance of West Richardson. In just 3.5 days, we have well over 50 signatures, quite a few other people that just honestly haven't been able to get by to sign. SCDOT currently owns the road. Has demonstrated for years it has no interest in taking the necessary steps to make meaningful change to the safety of local residents. At the end of the day, the town should never lose sight that West Richardson Avenue, formerly First Street, is a historic and most importantly residential road. West Richardson is the major artery for eastbound traffic heading into downtown Somerville. Any future planning for downtown development and beautification should include West Richardson, and the town acquiring ownership will allow the autonomy to make that happen in the most effective and efficient manner. That said, the initial immediate reasons for the town to take over ownership are to, one, reduce the speed, particularly along from South Palmetto to beyond the S curve there where the park is. It's basically the same, reducing the speed to 25 is the same traffic calming measure that's been done for West Carolina, as well as even noticed today, Bear Island Drive, which is, it's hard to even recognize that as a residential road, but it's 25 miles an hour. Adding on-demand crosswalk signals at West Richardson and South Walnut for the safety of children and residents to cross at the playground, similar to what's in place already at Main Street and afforded the residents there and visitors of Azalea Park. To install stop signs at West Richardson and Hickory Street intersection, creating a four-way stop, primarily for pedestrian crossing safety, but also in hopes of calming traffic along that straightaway, and/or relocate relevant traffic signage to within the first 150 feet of West Richardson eastbound shoulder on at the Maple intersection to include speed limit signage, adopt highway signage, etc., and then to add the no through truck signs to the horizontal posts on the new traffic signals there at both Maple and on the other end at Central to allow trucks the opportunity to see the signs before they turn onto the road and know that they're not supposed to be there. So yeah, that's for the West End Neighborhood Group. Like I said, that's the changes we'd like to see. We urge you to take ownership of the road. As far as the other things with overlay and so forth, I'm all for kind of expanding a little bit in the town. Most everybody here this week will end up eating at Kersey House or Five Loaves or La Rustica or La Chev, and these are all old houses converted into restaurants, and they did not damage the town. We need positive growth, smart growth. Appreciate everything y'all do.
Tom and Darla Haskell.
Good evening, Mayor Tutchberry and council members. We're relatively new to the area. We've only been in Somerville for 6 years. Over the last 6 years, watching all of the street and the traffic and the cut throughs that people use from West Richardson to Central Avenue has increased dramatically. We've witnessed accidents. We've witnessed people doing over 100 miles an hour down West Richardson Avenue as though it's a drag strip. There's people that are just between West Richardson Avenue, South Laurel Street, Central Avenue, Pine Street. There's somebody over there that's constantly doing burnouts and racing up and down the roads constantly. You go look at the streets over there, you can see the tire marks from these people drag racing around our neighborhoods. These are the same complaints that we see everybody else talking about. We see large trucks driving up and down the roads all the time that are all doing over 35 miles an hour, tearing our streets up, tearing the sides of the roads up, garbage being littered everywhere. We see people going from Richardson Avenue down to Central Avenue on that short stretch, routinely doing 60 miles an hour, trying to beat the green light at the other end. You see speed limits anywhere from 35, 30, 25, 20, 15 miles an hour all through the neighborhoods. How come it's not all uniform? How come we don't have 25 miles an hour everywhere? We all want to have safe streets. We walk every single day on the roads all over the Somerville, the historic district. We don't like seeing these people racing. We don't want to see anybody hurt. We see our neighbors' children's walking out there, playing on their bicycles, riding around. We don't want to see these children get hurt. We don't want to see our animals get hurt. We don't want to see anybody hurt. And this seems to be a major concern, at least in our aspect, from what we're seeing and watching, is these speeders and how they disregard the laws. There seems to be very little of anything to slow them down. We recommend either putting large speed bumps in, more stop signs, something to help protect our families and friends out here on these roads. We're tired of seeing all the speeding people. We really are. We love this neighborhood. We love Somerville. We want to keep it slow where everybody can enjoy it. Find a way to reroute the traffic, do something. We know it's a cut through for many people from many of the outlying areas as well. Do they need to come to that portion of town? If they're coming to do business or coming to visit, we want them here, but we don't need people going in and out of our time to try and cut time off of their commute every day to work. Thank you for your time.
Mark Greenslet.
Good evening. Town council members and mayor, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak this evening. I'm speaking on the topic 9G West Richardson Avenue. I speak to you as a longtime resident, having lived at 624 West Richardson Avenue for 30 years. I also speak to you as the originator and 20-year former president of what is now the West End Neighborhood Group. The issue of traffic on West Richardson Avenue has been a concern nearly the entire time my family has lived there. To no one's surprise, traffic and its attendant safety and quality of life conditions has only worsened, especially, as many have said before, since the Maple Street extension was completed. It should be noted that our house sits only 18 feet away from this very busy road. We no longer use our front porch, and having a conversation in the backyard is often difficult because of traffic noise. Can you say the same for yourself? Additionally, heavy truck traffic produces significant pollution and vibration that damages our homes and potentially our health. In the past, the town of Somerville protected the historic district primarily by establishing district boundaries and establishing an architectural review board to maintain the historical integrity and appearance of the buildings in the historic district. And for that, I'm very grateful. However, there's more to protecting the historic district than protecting the buildings from bad architectural ideas. Protecting the historic district also means protecting the quality of life, safety, and livability of those who chose to maintain the structures that give Somerville part of its core identity. Now, we appreciate the several vain attempts that were made to get SCDOT to lower the speed limit to 25 miles an hour. Now, we all know that speed kills and has contributed to many of the numerous accidents along this road. Given this and other problems in dealing with DOT, it can be said with some degree of certainty that they don't care. I know that is not the case with you. Since the many attempts to get South Carolina Department of Transportation to improve conditions on this road were of no avail, the obvious solution is for the town of Somerville to take on West Richardson Avenue. I understand that this will be costly, particularly given the condition of the road. For that reason alone, many of you here are not going to support this. I can certainly appreciate your concerns. Nonetheless, this is an investment that the town needs to make. If the council will indulge me, I have a few suggestions. First, ask DOT to resurface the road. After that, ask for control of the road. Secondly, as a safety and quality of life measure, request routine, regular police enforcement of existing laws that would include speeding, heavy truck traffic, and adherence to the noise.
Thank you, Mr. Greenslip.
Oh, already.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
Patricia Richardson.
Good evening. How are y'all? I just wanted to clarify, I'm at 100 West Richardson, Suite C, as you know. The contract is in executive session later on this evening. I just wanted to clarify to you because I know it was in question. I do have plans for the other side that I gave up to take back and implement more retail, which I'm already authorized to do with my license. So I don't have to go through anything as far as that goes. And I did want to address you, Mrs. Johnson. You had asked about at least 50 square feet. I think I have an alternative and a compromise that I'd like to discuss with you afterward. And then going forward, I already have a signed contract for the entire lease, as well as authorization to implement and kind of sublease in the future. Excuse me. And I do want to address, after listening to so much about West Richardson, I've been there since 2008, and my station where I do hair, I have a beautiful view, but it also has a view of the crosswalk right here. And I'm sure it's just as bad down that end as it is this end. I watch daily people try to cross the road and these trucks do not slow down. And if that traffic light down by the YMCA is in line with this traffic light, they don't slow down at all. I watch people almost get hit on a daily basis. So, and several customers of ours have made mention of it in the past as well as, recently. So just, I'm in favor of our town taking that over so no one gets hurt. And I definitely think that there needs to be at least a flashing crosswalk there at the bare minimum. One night I was there, I actually watched a tow truck run the entire sign over, and my husband had to walk out and take it out of the road and put it to the side so that nobody got hurt or drove over it. So that's it. Thank you.
Adrian Quest.
Good evening, Mayor Tewksbury and council members. My name is Adrian Quist, and I have been a Somerville resident for 61 years. I'm very much against the proposed daily alcohol sales, which includes special events that will only create more problems for our town. Why do we have to add alcohol sales to the list for families that are already enjoying a good time? Let's be honest, Somerville doesn't have to do what other communities are doing for the sake of additional tax revenue. What kind of example are we showing our children and grandchildren? Why are we creating an additional burden for the police, not just downtown, but throughout the historical district and surrounding areas? Why do we have laws about open containers? Special marked cups will not prevent people from getting refills. There are other ways. Cleanup after hours will be an issue as well. This whole proposal is not only a bad idea, but a terrible idea. We don't want Somerville to become a town with a Bourbon Street flavor. People here will survive and continue to have a good time without alcohol sales. Please, Mayor and council members, do what is best for Somerville and strike this idea for your list. Thank you for your time.
Diane Frankenberger.
Good evening, you all. I want to second what the residents of West Richardson Avenue have said. And I have a business on West Richardson Avenue as it is between Main Street and Cedar. And I have noticed an increase in traffic ever since the Maple Street extension was put in place. With the trucks, motorcycles, and loud noise. But what I really want to talk to you all about tonight is the open container. I know I apologize to Steve Doniger. I thought this idea originated with Dream. It did not. It doesn't matter who it originated with. But I got a cup today of 16 ounces, and up to the top is 16 ounces. The way I read this and what I look at, it does go into some residential areas. 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days a week, anybody can walk around with an open container. I'm 82. Adrian Quist has been in Somerville longer than I have, but I've been in Somerville longer than the mayor because I'm older than he is. I remember, and it still is, Somerville is not a great town because that's about your ego. Somerville is a good town. We're not like everybody else. We exist between Lincolnville and Jedburgh, and that's not a put down on those communities. I want to keep the goodness of it. In my younger days, I loved alcohol. I drank everything except red wine. And this is not about not drinking. This is about responsible drinking. And already people have talked about crossing various streets. Today, I almost got hit. And the lady was unrepentant. And I cannot imagine people with open containers crossing Main Street and Cedar Street. I think I'm going to say that's it. Thank you.
Mary Becker?
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you tonight. I've thought for some time that the city council probably sees Somerville differently than I do. And I understand that. A lot of you may have grown up here. You kind of take maybe a little bit of it for granted. You don't have a lot to compare it with. You maybe never lived in a big city. My search for Somerville began on the West Coast in a large metropolitan area that was crowded and filthy and crime-ridden, and I was mugged 3 times there. I wanted very much to get out. I started searching. For 4 years I searched. I prayed, dear God, get me to a place that's safe, where I can live a different kind of life, where I can get back to the things that are really important in life, where I don't have road rage. That would be nice. Slowly I found Somerville. I'd been to Charleston, I'd been to Kiowa, but I'd never been to the smaller towns. You know, when you're a tourist, they really don't end up places like Somerville, thank God. But I knew someone who was living here. He was in the Air Force, and it was his last posting. So I talked to him. He said, you'll love it. Come on down. So I sold the business. I'd worked so hard to get going and to make successful. I sold the Victorian I'd worked on for 13 years. I sold everything I owned. And I got in the car with 2 big rambunctious dogs and drove across the country. 6 days later, I was here. I found a beautiful town, gorgeous old historic homes, beautiful green yards. It was kind of like Technicolor. But probably the thing I found that was best was the people. I hadn't lived amongst people like you in a very long time. And I felt humbled. I remember when I moved into my house, somebody came to the door and I didn't recognize the car, and I wasn't going to open the door because I thought, well, what if it's a home invasion? You know, that was my mindset then. Well, it wasn't. It was my 90-year-old neighbor bringing me a fern and hoping I learned to love my house and my town, which I have. I don't ever want to leave here. I think the historic district overlay is a bad idea. I think the entertainment zone is a bad idea. I just don't think it'll add anything to this community. And I'm happy to say I am a part of this community. And I give thanks to God every day for being here. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. One of those nice people is right here. How many years did you look for a fountain for me? 2, 3? Yeah. Thank you.
Steve Doninger.
Mr. Mayor, Council, thanks for the opportunity to speak. I just want to point something, Diane, you owe me nothing. Our friendship is very strong and welcome these like conversations. I'm here representing the executive board for Somerville Dream and their support of the outdoor entertainment district, requesting your consideration to pass the ordinance that was presented at first reading as written. A couple things I want to point out. Dream's a partner with the town of Somerville. So when the initiative came to us and was requested to do a little bit of research on what other communities in South Carolina are doing this, how does it work, how the ordinances are happening, we actually looked at other states as well to see, where these things were falling down, what the success rate was, how that was working in these type of districts. And we provided that information to the town, and we've had conversations with our businesses. We asked them for their feedback, for their questions. We went through the rules and regulations as the ordinance was put together, and by and large, we got a lot of positive feedback. Notwithstanding any of the conversations or information that was put out earlier too, those are real, and those concerns we'll address here in a moment. I want to talk about this as what it's not. I want to be really, really clear about this. This ordinance is not authority for bad behavior. This does not take away any of the laws, rules, regulations that are put in place right now for drinking, for driving, for any of those different things. This is an opportunity for an uplift for people to have a glass of beer or wine, go ahead and shop. It's also very important to say this is an opt-in for all businesses. If you don't want somebody to come in your business with an open container, you don't have to. If you do, there'll be a sticker on your door, other ways to kind of control that. We also want to say that this comes with clear understanding that the map is only intended to be within the business district. It does, the boundaries do touch where some of the neighborhoods are, but those are the end of the district itself. So it was never intended for this to be inside neighborhoods or anything like that. Also, it means that you have to walk, pedestrians still have to walk through crosswalks and walk on sidewalks and do all that in order to get around the town. Folks, I also want to leave with this. Your business owners in town want the same thing these great people are talking about today. They want a safe community. They want a clean community. They want a community that is celebrated. And this is just an opportunity for us to go ahead and make sure that we're giving them the best opportunity also to be successful in business by keeping people downtown longer. Doesn't have an open invitation for additional alcohol sales or anything like that. Also, I'll mention very quickly that this ordinance, the way that it's written, does support some of the standards in the new Envision 2047 plan that came out in more distinctive areas and more support for small businesses.
Thank you, Mr. Doninger.
Mr. Mayor, that's all I have for the public comment for items on the June the 11th agenda. I did have a few emails that I sent to pass along to council that I would like to note, if that's okay. Okay, we have one from Jana Riley with the Public Works Art Center on West Richardson Avenue, writing to express her concerns about the outdoor entertainment district. Hunter Jackson, Historic District resident and business owner, writing in support of the outdoor entertainment district. Avery Greenlee, resident, writing in support of the outdoor entertainment district. Morgan Asbell, resident, writing in support of the outdoor entertainment district. The Greater Somerville Dorchester County Chamber of Commerce, letter in support of the outdoor entertainment district. Simple Treasures, located on 116 South Main Street, writing in support of the outdoor entertainment district. Baldoni Aesthetic, located at 118 West Richardson Avenue, writing in support of the outdoor entertainment district. Collaboration, located on West 2nd South Street, writing in support of the outdoor entertainment district. Four Greenfields, located on Short Central, writing in support of the outdoor entertainment district with a few general questions. Seamus's Irish Pub, located on Short Central, writing in support of the outdoor entertainment district. Bonnier Park, located on South Cedar Street, writing in support of the outdoor entertainment district. and the former mayor of the city of Hartsville, writing in support of the outdoor entertainment district similar to the one that was established in Hartsville. I also had 2 emails in support of rezoning the 103 South Magnolia property, and those were from Christopher Livier and Trevor Livier. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Under pending bills and resolutions, item A, second and final reading of an ordinance next Dorchester County TMS 14400000189, approximately 2.08 acres, located on the Berlin G. Myers Parkway.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. Motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
And B is the second and final reading of the ordinance to zone the same property as PL Public Lands.
I'll make that motion.
Second. All right, motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item C, second and final reading of an ordinance to amend the Town of Somerville Code of Ordinances, Chapter 20, Planning and Development, Article 4, Development Impact Fees.
I'll make the motion of approval. Second.
All right, motion and a second for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Second and final reading of an ordinance to adopt an operating budget for the Town of Somerville for fiscal year 2026 to 2027.
Motion to approve.
Second. All right, motion and a second to approve. Any discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
I'd just like to say, overall, I am in support of this year's budget. I was not pleased that we removed some funding for bike and pedestrian and connectivity. However, I'm assured with the additional staff that we have in our streets department and some increasing and some differences in our budget there, that we still will be able to get pedestrian improvements done. And we do have that being worked on as well through the Main Street Resiliency. So while that was one item I was not happy with, I'm assured through other aspects of the budget, we will still be able to accomplish some improvements in that area. That's all.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman?
Mr. Mayor, I want to again publicly thank our town staff for both the process and for their work on this budget. This is a budget that the staff and council worked on for months, and at the first draft, we were $5 million in the hole. And we were somehow able to balance that budget without raising taxes this year. So I'm very thankful for that.
Any other discussion? Well, I'll echo Councilman Halter's sentiment. Thank you, Rhonda, Scott, and the whole team, all the department heads. Thank you so much for working hard to come up with a good budget for us. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Second and final reading of an ordinance to delete current section 16-5 of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Somerville and replace it with a new section 16-5 so as to establish an outdoor entertainment district and other matters related thereto.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to make a motion that we postpone this to next month.
All right, we have a motion to postpone to next month's regular scheduled meeting. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, motion and a second to postpone to next month.
And
Any other discussion? Go ahead.
yeah, I'd just like to say, I provided council with a revised map if we were going to pass this. And initially, when I heard about it, I did think it was a great idea. And there's some aspects that I do think would be a good idea, especially for our small business owners, if it could bring in more business for them. But I was concerned that some of the existing map was going on the sides of the streets, such as West Second South Street, on the side that didn't have a crosswalk. So I revised the map to only go on the side that there was a sidewalk. I also revised it where it did not go down Doty past the ice house because there were not sidewalks after that area. And it did not go on the opposite side of the street as the ice house because there were no sidewalks in that area. I felt like it did not need to run along beside the church's property and should go more in front of the Bon Air if we were going to do it. However, with that, I had a lot of comments that if we were going to approve something like this, we needed to really revise the ordinance to make sure there were adequate trash receptacles, adequate signage indicating where the outdoor entertainment district entry and exit points were with clear operating hours and boundaries on the signage. I wanted us to clarify that private businesses and property owners could prohibit that. Any repeat violations on businesses would be referred to code enforcement, South Carolina Department of Revenue as well. I also felt like that we needed to be sure and add that they had to dispose of beverages before exiting the district or entering prohibited locations, and that it must be in approved logoed disposable paper or plastic cups. However, I'm hearing a lot of comments on both sides, and like I said initially, it seemed like a great thing, and I still think there are aspects of it that is, but I would rather have a full council here, and we're missing 2 people to evaluate all aspects of this because it is important, and we don't want to change the way Somerville looks and feels. And I just want to make sure that we're taking all aspects of this into consideration and a really good look at all parts of it. Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, if I could, the new map that Ms. Wilson put together and all the things that she had stated, I really like that. On the other hand, I have some misgivings on this also. I just know that there's been problems in the past when it wasn't a special event where people were drinking alcohol after hours and then, relieving themselves in front of a business. So we have to clean it up the next day, or even fights or shootings out in the streets after hours. Not that that's going to happen again, but I think that right now how we have it for our special events, I do believe, Mr. Santner, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that you are allowed to carry an open container. I know that you can buy wine right there out on the street on Hutchinson Square and walk around with it. I think that this map is perfect for a special event, but I'm not so sure about an everyday occurrence. But were you gonna answer my question there? Sorry.
Yes, people are allowed to do, people do that now. Pardon me. However, that is a technical violation of our current open carry ordinance. And this ordinance, the way it's written currently, would address that issue and provide specific exceptions to the town's current prohibition on open containers on the sidewalks.
Okay. I do think that all of council needs to be here on this vote. And I do believe with the changes that Ms. Wilson put forth, I would really like the residents to see those changes and that new map that she put out. I really like that. And so that's why I feel that we need to delay this vote.
I would like to add, I do think that we need to make sure that even if we do something like this from the 10 to 10, I think we need to make sure that there's no Sundays included. We are known, Somerville is known for having lots of churches, and I think that makes it very welcoming. So I think that needs to be a consideration as well.
All right, we had a motion to postpone in a second, had some discussion. Everybody good? All those in favor to postpone to July, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, second and final reading of an ordinance to rezone TMS 13709010111 located at 727 Central Avenue, totaling approximately 0.23 acres and owned by Trilogy Properties of Somerville LLC from GR5 to NB.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Second and final reading of an ordinance to rezone TMS 13707160001 located at 103 South Magnolia Street, totaling approximately 0.34 acres and owned by David L. and Kimberly D. Garber from GR2 to NMX.
Make a motion to approve.
I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion?
Yes.
Councilwoman?
I would like to first say thank you so much for graciously pointing out my comment. That is very true. I would much rather a bed and breakfast beside me than law offices, real estate offices, construction offices, title companies, and all the works. But Somerville was also founded on bed and breakfast, and we're an area of hospitality ever since 1812. So I understand historic preservation. And a lot of you do talk about historic preservation, and I respect that. I love that. I would encourage you guys to get involved with our preservation society to demand actual preservation efforts such as historic facade easements, more historic markers, state and federal designations to protect these individual homes and to protect our community, because we do need more involvement from our Historic Preservation Society in doing these things to protect our Somerville. So while I would rather a bed and breakfast, that doesn't mean I don't support those businesses because I have my own business in those areas. It means that bed and breakfasts are the heart of Somerville. So I would much rather always support a bed and breakfast than I would a business, but it doesn't mean I don't support those businesses. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Under introduction of bills and resolutions, item A, first reading of an ordinance to rezone TMS 13612030015 located at 102 Pinewood Drive, totaling approximately 0.57 acres and owned by Easy Carolina Homebuyers LLC from GR5 General Residential to NB Neighborhood Business. The Planning and Development Committee voted to move this item to full council with no recommendation at its meeting on June 8th.
Make a motion to approve.
All right,
Second.
we have a motion and a second to approve first reading. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item B, first reading of an ordinance to annex TMS number 15303030002 located on Pointer Drive and totaling approximately 0.44 acres. Planning and Development Committee voted to move the item to full council with no recommendation at its meeting on June 8th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item C, first reading of an ordinance to zone TMS number 153030302 located on Pointer Drive, totaling approximately 0.44 acres, currently zoned R2 Single Family Residential in Dorchester County, to be zoned GR5 General Residential upon annexation to the town of Somerville's municipal limits.
Move to approve. Second.
All right, motion and a second to approve first reading. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item D, first reading of an ordinance to annex TMS number 13615070009 located at 228 Wilson Drive and totaling approximately 0.49 acres. Planning and Development Committee voted to move the item to full council with no recommendation at its meeting on June 8th.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, motion and a second to approve first reading. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item E, first reading of an ordinance to zone TMS 13615070009, which is currently zoned R2 Single Family Residential in Dorchester County as GR5 General Residential upon annexation into the town of Somerville's municipal limits.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion and a second to approve first reading. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item F, first reading of an ordinance to amend the Somerville Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 3, Section 3.6, temporary uses pertinent to road construction rights of way. The Planning and Development Committee moved the item to full council with no recommendation at its meeting on June 8th.
Move for approval.
I'll second that.
All right, motion and a second to approve first reading. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, if you would, for the public, would you explain just a real quick synopsis of what this change is?
Yes, ma'am. This came out of a unique scenario where we have a piece of property where on one side, there is a road construction project scheduled and being designed and right-of-way acquisition where the owner, who is Dorchester County's Transportation Sales Tax Program on Highway 78, is purchasing right-of-way as we speak. While on the other side of this property, these two sides would be the access point to the property, on Main Street, where the Main Street Resiliency Project is currently going to go. The property owner wants to activate this space, but doesn't know how ingress and egress will be finalized when the road construction happens. So instead of having an empty space that is not well kept and it looks abandoned on a prominent corner, this temporary use would provide them the opportunity to have a mobile unit that looks nicer than a trailer or some, ugly thing, but a nicer temporary structure that would be set up. The area would be then landscaped or shielded by our whether staff and the design review board, how they deem appropriate. But there's no provision in our ordinance to activate a space that is kind of caught in purgatory with two construction projects on either side. So this is just a way to not have a missing tooth along our Main Street corridor, provide the opportunity for a temporary unit that meets certain criteria, ADA accessibility, but we could, as a town, not only have a potential user working constantly, they would be contributing positively to our revenue, which is a part of our strategy. So maybe that was too long, but
Thank you.
the purpose is to activate a missing tooth. All right, any other discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Under miscellaneous, item A, authorization for staff to enter into an MOU with Dorchester County Emergency Medical Services for tactical medics for Somerville Police Department SWAT team.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item B, authorization to present Corporal Jason Dandridge with his FN 15 caliber FNG 009211 service rifle for his retirement from the Somerville Police Department.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any discussion?
Just want to say congratulations to Corporal Dandridge and thank you so much for your years of service at Somerville. We appreciate you.
Agreed.
Amen.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item C, authorization for staff to enter into an MOU with the Trident Off-Road Cycling Collective for the maintenance, stewardship, and ongoing support of the Sawmill Ridge Trails.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item D, consider and take action on the State Accommodations Tax Advisory Committee's recommendation for funding 2026 A-tax applications from vetted organizations.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the recommendation on the A-tax committees. Any discussion?
Yes, sir. Combination taxes are raised through the rental of hotel rooms primarily. These are people visiting our town from not here, obviously. And for me, I believe that the tax money should be spent proportional to the amount of out-of-town guests that each of these organizations bring to our town. And while I'm going to vote for this, because I don't want to second guess our A-tax committee, I do want to point out that the Zelia Festival, which brings hundreds of thousands of people to our town, actually got less money than other organizations. And the bulk of that money that we give to the YMCA actually comes back to the town for our police and fire department and for our parks department personnel. So I understand that just like our budget, the requests were double the available funds. And so I understand that it was easy to simply cut everyone's budget by 50% and make up the very small shortfall. But I do hope that in the future that the money is distributed proportionally to the amount of out-of-town guests that come to these organizations.
Yeah, I would like to add to that. We have a lot of great nonprofits in Somerville and do a lot of great things. And I do appreciate everybody getting some funding here. Everybody was pretty much cut in half. We don't really ask for any audits and look at these financials or what if this money, how it's money is being used. And I do think there's some organizations that do have a bigger impact in our community that could have used more funding that I do wholeheartedly support, but and others you don't really see much, or you wonder, I wonder, why do they need that much money? I'm curious as to what they're using it for. And but I trust our A-tax committee, and I know that next year they might look into changing things because it seems to grow. The amount requested seems to grow every year, and the nonprofits that are requesting money seems to grow. And I just want to make sure that us as council, we're being good stewards to giving the right amount to the right causes and where it's needed most and makes the most impact. So.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Item E, authorization for staff to replace the asphalt on South Laurel and Sumter where it had been removed as part of the realignment of that intersection. The Public Works Committee voted to move the item to full council with approval of this work at its meeting on June 8th.
Before a motion is made, council, I just wanted to let you know that when this intersection improvement was contemplated, evaluated, and approved by us to be moved forward, one of the things we failed to do was engage with some of those stakeholders, including the church that is there. I met with the church at one point in time, and I know that we've had staff meet with them subsequently, which led to this discussion. But I would like for us, if we would, instead of authorizing to replace the asphalt, is authorize our staff to coordinate with the church and really nail down what their expectations are before we have this discussion, almost figure out what they would like in comparison with asphalt. And if it is, then we can come back and revisit this, but I just think that'd be more prudent. I want to make sure we know exactly what the expectation of the church is before we make another move that doesn't necessarily serve their needs.
Well, I'm not entirely sure this is a motion that actually needs council action. I mean, I have full faith in our public works department and our staff to work this out with the church. As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't need to come back to council, but that's just my opinion.
Councilman,
Well-
that's perfectly, that's good. Scott?
Yeah.
Very good.
You can just not take action.
Now, I'd like to add, at the Public Works Committee, we voted to move it to full council with approval of this work. This work from that committee meeting has since changed to different work. It went from 9 spaces to 3.
No, what was presented Monday night was a map showing the potential 9 parking spaces that the church could put on its property. And the area between those potential 9 spaces and the new edge of Laurel Street has increased. There's a greater distance between the potential parking spaces on their private property to where the edge of the street is now. Before we did this work, that area was asphalt. The issue, now it is dirt without any sort of turf on it. And the question is, what surface, if any, to put back down in that what is now an empty space so that there wouldn't be maintenance issues in terms of turf and trying to keep grass alive, and then also not having cars drive across it. So if we put the asphalt back from where it was previously, then you would just simply drive from the asphalt onto that private property. And I don't know that the church if they use that for parking now or not, but Bonnie just showed that as a depiction of potential parking spaces because of the complaint from the church about not having enough parking spaces. So that was what was presented Monday night, and that is what is being, and that's what's in front of you now. But if it's if it's council's desire that staff go back and work with the church, then we can certainly do that. And if we think we need to get y'all's authorization for something beyond our scope, then we'd be happy to put that back in front of you.
Council members, that sound good?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Slatton.
Item F, authorization for the town to take over a portion of West Second South Street from North Cedar Street to North Laurel Street, as well as a block of North Pine Street from West Second North Street to Blocker Lane from the SCDOT for work to be done on the new public safety campus. The Public Works Committee voted to move the item to full council with recommendation for approval at its meeting on June 8th.
I'll move for approval.
I'll second.
All right, motion and a second for approval. Any discussion?
Well, I sure wish item G was on here first, but it's all right.
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Discussion on taking over West Richardson Avenue from SCDOT. Request from Councilmember Tiffany Johnson. The Public Works Committee voted to move the item to full council for further discussion at its meeting on June 8th.
I'll make a motion for the town to take over West Richardson Avenue, and in doing so, reduce the speed limit to 25 miles per hour and add the addition of 1 stop sign and 1 lighted crosswalk placed at a location to be determined by the Weston Neighborhood Group through a survey.
I will second that motion, but it needs a lot of discussion.
All right, motion and a second so we can have discussion. Council members.
Taking over DOT roads is nothing new for the town. We took over West Carolina, we took over Laurel Street, we took over Sumter Street. When I was a town engineer, we took over many DOT streets, but at that time, we also gave them streets like Midland Parkway. DOT is not in the business of taking any more streets, and they certainly don't even want to maintain the ones that they currently have. I can't tell you the last time I saw a DOT truck in our town filling a pothole or fixing any road for that matter. The DOT is doing us no favor. And I say that angrily, and I say that publicly, that we are in a position where 80% of our roads are 80% of our roads are owned by the DOT, yet 0 of them virtually are maintained. Now, we do get some gas tax back, and we do get some C fund money, but we don't even get the proportion of the tax back that we pay into that fund by some formula up in Columbia. And I would really encourage all of us here on council and all of you here in our town to talk to your local delegation about changing the formula about the way the money comes back to the town. I am all in favor of taking over Richardson for many reasons. Number one is they're not doing it. But also it's the main gateway to our town coming from the west. And I would like to have some flexibility on the way we make those intersections look, even as far as landscaping, in addition to improving the safety all along that corridor. I don't want to take it over and have a knee-jerk reaction of putting up a stop sign at every intersection. I do want us to study the best way to calm that traffic. But it's very clear to me that the DOT is trying to run out the clock and force us to take it. Well, fine, we will take it. But I'm not happy about it, and none of you should be happy about it either, because you're already paying for that road.
I would add, many of you, I've communicated with many of you. You have emails and letters. I've been to DOT since about I've been on council. And, they put up the sign of the S curve but very, very little did they do. And, the issues continue. 39 accidents in 10 months is just not acceptable. I've talked to the chief about enforcement, and they put out the meter speed sign, and they did sit out there and write tickets. And some of you sent pictures of our officers writing tickets that day. So I appreciate that. I think we could figure out some more enforcement, but like you said, it's the speeding, the entryway to Somerville, the safety issues. These are all big concerns that I have heard loud and clear from all of you. And that's 2.5 years into this. I heard it on the campaign trail, knocking doors, and I've continued to try and follow through with that, but DOT is just not doing their part. So if I need to amend my motion where we start over with taking over the road, and I think it's just not enough to take over the road. I think we at least have to take over the road and reduce the speed limit. That's the serious issue that we're looking at. We can wait on stop signs and lighted crosswalks till we do more studies, but perhaps I should amend my motion if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Well, if you want to finish discussion, you may have more input
Yeah.
coming before you amend your motion.
Yeah. Some of you have mentioned that the road needs repaved. So there are roads in Berkeley County that have been in Dorchester County that have been on the list to be repaved for 6 years, 10 years by DOT that I know of, that I've talked with the chairman about. To get them to say they're gonna pave the road first and then we'll take it over, then we might as well just be planning to wait another few years, because it's gonna have to go through the CTC committee. It's gonna have to get approved through them if it gets approved, and then it's gonna have to wait in line. It's not just that simple. And I have heard from you guys so many times that I believe in order to accomplish what you are saying, the way to do that and what you're needing is for the town of Somerville to take over the road. And that is a little more maintenance cost. And it seems that we are not able to trade roads anymore, but I think that's the cost of a community, and that's our responsibility to take care of that road and to make sure that you and your families are safe. That's all.
And I was just going to say, ditto on a lot of things that you said, that there is a problem, and not just Richardson. There seems to be many areas in the downtown area where we probably need to look at purchasing stop signs that are lit up and flashing, changing the speed limit with flashing signs, because doesn't seem that they pay attention to a regular. I know that when I'm going down a road that I'm not familiar with, and if I see a flashing speed limit sign, it catches my attention right away. And I think that in some of these areas, we're going to have to start doing that for people to really start paying attention. I'm not completely sold on the idea of taking over the road right now, because I know how much that's gonna cost the town, and we're going to have to take, steal from Peter to pay for Paul, type of scenario. But we need to do something, and I know that in some of our neighborhoods, even though it's been a DOT road, we've put up speed limit signs, we've changed the speed limit, we've put up stop signs. So I'll leave it at that.
Did I hear that you were not in support of the taking over the road? But if so, I would like to amend my motion.
Well, hold on just a second. Can I have some comments?
Okay.
I'm trying to, all right. We hear you loud and clear. It's been ongoing. And one of the things I think we need to do internally is look ourselves in the mirror and say, have we put the best effort to put the responsibility on the responsible party yet before we take over a roadway with very poor pavement condition? And then how do we do that? Okay. And my question to staff, and Councilman Halter probably knows, when is the last time we have done a traffic safety study of this corridor?
Well, I don't know the answer to that question. I also don't know why we would do that because it's not our road.
Well, that's part of the purpose. If we've gotten no's and we recognize that there are safety challenges, a study that demonstrates that there are significant safety concerns along this corridor is a whole lot cheaper than resurfacing a mile of roadway that is already alligator cracked and potholed as we speak. It would also provide us with the actual recommendations that would comply with the best practice standards for safety along the corridor so that we could highlight exactly what improvements would need to be made and then push that forward with our legislative delegation and put a full court press. The Highway Modernization Bill was approved this year, which is a reform of DOT. It requires potholes be filled within, I believe, 7 days. And they are talking, our legislative delegation is talking about having a funding bill that couples with this new modernization bill of DOT in next year's cycle. So if we have our legislative delegation that has a lot of influence currently in this process, a study that says exactly what the DOT should do, I feel like we can apply strategic pressure with facts and actual recommendations to improve the safety on the corridor. And that is a cheaper way to put the responsibility on them. And if they don't follow through on that, that is where we would take over the ownership of the roadway. Because I just don't feel like we've put our best effort to put the responsibility on the responsible party yet.
Respectfully, if that's a magic bullet we've had at our disposal, why have we not done that to date?
Your guess is as good as mine. This came back up. We asked DOT for several items, including whether we could remove the raised medians at Maple Street, which are causing additional traffic to bypass the frontage road at the railroad tracks and go on to Richardson. And they declined that. They declined the stop signs. They declined the speed limit reduction. But if we have a recommendation that makes all of those, this is an urban downtown network, I believe that would put them in a different position.
Well, to your point, not only are they not helping us, they're working against us. Even the signs that we have put out to try to calm the traffic, they confiscated and took.
Yes.
So it's worse than not helping us.
And I will
Correct.
say to that my first year, I had no through truck signs placed out on West Richardson Streets Department did it for me. Then they came back and said, that we shouldn't have done that. And that, so now that those signs were removed. Just today, I sent a message and asked, you know, can we have these no through truck signs placed on the lighted bars up top? Maybe that'll be better. Now, we're not putting them out, you know, on the street. They're on the bars at the top. And even that says, no, we can't do it because DOT has to let us do that. It's constantly no, no, no. In the meanwhile, this is, I mean, 39 accidents in 10 months. I don't want it to be a situation where somebody gets killed. And in fact, I think maybe I don't want to say, but I don't want that to happen. And that's way too many accidents for us to continue ignoring this. I would like to amend my motion if I may.
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Tell you what, why don't you withdraw your motion and then make a new one? There you
Okay.
go. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
You'd like to withdraw your motion, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay.
please. I'd like to go for it. I want to make the motion that the town take over the road, West Richardson Avenue, and reduce the speed limit to 25 miles an hour.
We'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this new motion? I just want to state that we were very proud of a no millage increase budget. And we have no identified roadway funding for this. And I know there's a lot of improvements. Signs are cheap. Pavement is not, so I just give caution to our council before we put a full court press on the responsible party, but I'll go ahead and ask for the question. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right. Those opposed? The ayes have it.
For public comment number 2, Nicholas Craven.
Sorry, guys, I'm dealing with some allergies, promise. My name is Nicholas Craven. I reside in the Canning Hills subdivision in Somerville. I'm speaking today in regards to the skate park on East Richland. I want to start off by giving a huge thank you for the metal awning, benches, water fountain supplied to the park. Those improvements make a huge difference for us skateboarders, especially in the summertime. I want to also go back years prior and show how much appreciation I have for the trees that were planted, because now I get to park up in the shade. And when I'm tired and I go get in my car, you know, it's nice and shaded, which I appreciate. I want to give a huge thanks to Amy with the Parks and Rec Department. She's been a part of this project for years now. Didn't forget about us. Earlier this week, we got a motion that there's going to be a public input meeting June 30th for the skate park. And that, what's it called? Fifth Pocket Skate Parks is going to be, you know, designing it. So, you know, we had a strong scene back in the early 2000s, and skateboarding really hasn't gotten back from that. And that we didn't even have a skate park back then. The skaters would skate at Brickyard Crossing, which is where Sonic is. They had a really nice spot, you know, that kind of naturally occurred when that building went out of business. The only thing I want to say is I hope that, as we all know, Somerville's a one of one town, and I wanted to reflect that with the park. They've taken, you know, Spartanburg, Florence, Newberry, Myrtle Beach. I just wanted to make sure that we put our own flair to it, and we do it so that you know, the future of skateboarding in Somerville has something to look forward to for years to come. That's all. Thank you.
Cornelius Smith.
Good evening to the mayor and the council, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Cornelius Smith, been in Somerville since 1959. I live at 519 North Maple Street, where I've been since 1982. I reside there with me and my wife. And just want to say, first of all, special thanks to Chief Wright and the department for using some of their resources to come up on Maple Street, because it's a big issue now, just like you've been hearing tonight, especially on our end too. So again, special thanks to them too, because their presence there has helped us some with the speeders and the loud trucks and cars and stuff. And I was telling my wife earlier today, I said, they might not get them all, but the ones they've gotten know not to speed on Maple Street. So a special thanks to them. We had two 35-mile-an-hour signs as soon as you cross over 78 coming toward my house heading, which would be south on Maple, going back toward the interstate. There's only one there now, so I don't know whether DOT moved the one or whoever moved it, but there was two. There was one right in front of our house and there was one closer to 78, and that one's still there. So the next sign after that 35-mile-an-hour sign now is the 45-mile-an-hour sign just before you get to Bear Island Road. And there's still some speeders coming through there, but like I said, the chief, their presence there has been really good. A lot of accidents in the area as well too. But my main concern too now is the two turn lanes that turn to town. When you're coming from the interstate and you get to the two turn lanes that go towards town, when you're coming from the interstate and you're looking at that road, it's really deceiving, because you're in that, which is that point is the left lane, and you're looking at the light and looking ahead, and it's making you think that lane goes straight, and it don't. And then that turns into the right turn lane. And a lot of people are winding up in that lane, and at the last second, they're wanting to come over to the lane that extends and go across to Richardson. So that's been kind of a big issue. And actually, I think yesterday there was 3 wrecks in that area. I know there was one in front of the mobile home park again by me. And I think there was one up at 78 in Maple as well too, and might even been a third one yesterday. So that's my concern there. I don't know who to talk to about maybe getting somebody to put maybe 2 signs up there with arrows, like turning toward town, to give drivers some kind of visual as they come and approach to the intersection. Because again, I say, when you're driving toward that and you're looking, it is misleading of what you're seeing and what's actually there once you get closer. And a lot of cars are cutting over. So that's pretty much all I had tonight. And again, just thank you for the time you've given me tonight. And I don't know who I can talk to, or is a DOT thing to maybe want to be the ones to put the signs up there? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I have one more. I can't read the name, but the initials are SD and the address is from Dolphin Drive.
Do we have one more public comment from Dolphin Drive?
Okay, that's all I have. Next is executive session.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to recuse myself from executive session.
Okay,
I will move that we go into executive session for a contractual matter related to lease of town-owned property at 100 West Richardson.
second. All right, we have a motion and a second to go into executive session for contractual matter related to lease of town-owned property at 100 West Richardson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are in executive session, except for Councilwoman Johnson.